And good morning, Patriots. I'm Chris Cordani filling in here. Tony Schaefer is not going to be with us today, but I have Angie Wong with me, and she'll be joining us momentarily. We also have Paul Ross, and we're going to be talking to him. Paul Ross, of course, from Colonial Metals Group. We're going to be talking to him as well. It's going to be fantastic, and we're going to have a great show. There is a lot to talk about, and I did want to save this. I'm going to save the video a little bit for when Angie comes in, or shall I? But have you seen this latest video? We are going to play this. This has just been, I, there's a lot of news happening, but I just want to throw this around here. This white women for Kamala thing is absolutely nuts. I'm watching this, and I thought it was a joke to begin with, but there was this woman, some influencer who calls herself Miss Frazzle, which I believe to some young kids from the '90s and I suppose and beyond, it would be sacrilege because everybody likes Miss Frazzle or used to, the real one that is, not the fake one. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But this cringe fest, I guess that's what the kids call it these days. It's pretty much a it was absolutely, I just I'm going to be showing you the video. There's going to be no words for that, but we're going to be talking amongst each other and having a lot of fun. But this coronation and whitewashing of Kamala Harris's background is absolutely, it's not only silly, but it's ludicrous. It's 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 phony at best and just immature at worst. And the funny thing is, do people actually think we're stupid? Do the Democrats think their base is that stupid? Okay, yeah, they'll follow anything. I get that. Anyway, what I want to say is good morning to all. We're going to have a lot of fun today, and that's what we're going to do. Angie's joining me in just a few moments. Tony will be back with me tomorrow. We're going to have Tony Schaefer. We're going to have my friend Jenny Kefauver, who was at the Talking Points USA uh, 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 convention over the weekend. We'll talk about the hullabaloo over what Donald Trump said earlier. And yes, we're going to be talking. Yeah, you know what Donald Trump said. He was joking around again, and the media just goes nuts over that stuff, and they're trying to make it sound like he's serious. And the worst thing is, while the media does what they do, the Democrats campaign on it now. When Joe Biden was debating Donald Trump, and this is going to happen if Kamala Harris winds up being the nominee, and if she winds up debating Donald Trump, it'll happen if she doesn't find a way to chicken out. But again, I'll get into that at another time. The Donald Trump jokes around about saying, "Hey, it's going to be a bloodbath when I get in," and there goes Joe Biden saying, "Well, he said there's going to be a bloodbath. What kind of president says something like that?" Meanwhile, he says, "Well, we have to put Trump in the crosshairs. We have to put Trump in the what's that word called? The not the crosshairs, the bullseye, if you will." I would like to say good morning, though. So, what do y'all think about this? Do they think we're stupid or not? It's absolutely funny. Yeah, Joe Biden's still around. In fact, Joe Biden was talking yesterday. Jexim 23. Joe Biden is still around with the question mark. I know we're trying to be funny here. Yes, but the fact is, he's still there. He is yapping around. He was at the Lyndon B. Johnson Center, I guess, in Austin, Texas yesterday. And he's talking about his new rules for the Supreme Court. I understand that we can talk about term limits of 18 years, but this guy was yapping on about ethics and how the court is being used as a weapon. He's the king of doing that. What do you think he's doing to Donald Trump? Donald Trump, the the uh, the court system has been weaponized by the Biden administration to destroy Donald Trump. We already know this. The fact is, though, uh, Donald, the fact is, though, Joe Biden is preaching as if he did not do any of this stuff. He's preaching as if the Supreme Court is horrible because it's not doing his bidding. He's upset about immunity, and that's another thing. What do y'all think about this immunity issue here? Presidents have immunity, and presidents need that to act in certain ways because once they get out of office, their political enemies can uh, destroy them. It can arrest them. That is what Joe Biden wants out of Donald Trump. Problem is, Joe Biden's old buddy Barack Obama uh, actually had a drone kill an American citizen, the son of an Iranian enemy. Yes, I get that, but he was technically a 16-year-old American citizen. That, my friends, is murder. Without immunity, Barack Obama would never have been able to do this without penalty. Well, of course, then again, Democrats get away with everything, as we all know. I'm bringing in Angie right now. Angie, thanks for coming in with me today. I'm enjoying this. I started out, Tony's not here, but I'm glad you are.
Oh man, you're hosting by yourself. Let me help you out.
I've
So
done that.
no, it's
On
true.
radio.
It's
I've done it on
true.
radio before, though, and I'm a radio guy, and you can see by my face, I look like I should be on the radio.
I'm also like all about radio. I thought when I took a radio job, when I hosted my last show, that I could just roll out of bed, talk about politics for a couple of hours. No, because now you have to go on camera, you have to go on Rumble, you have to go on all these things. I'm like, what do you mean? It's a radio job. I got to put makeup on. I got to brush my teeth.
Yeah, I mean,
So
hey, what is this? I thought Saturday was toothbrushing day. Now it's every day. I mean, come on, what's wrong
yeah.
with people? And
Okay.
yeah, I
So
even had to shave a little bit.
you
That's
look
not even good.
great. I love the hair. With the big, yeah,
This is my
see?
free Bannon haircut. I'm growing my hair like Steve Bannon until he's freed.
Well, I don't know about that because he's got another trial coming up. I don't know if you heard on
Yes.
December 1st or something. He's got another trial in Manhattan. I have not read through the court documents. I don't think I will, but yeah, this guy is, there's a long line of legal troubles for this one. So
Well,
you guys have such great backgrounds. I was trying to give you a really good background of of Trump kissing I think it's a bulldog, but
yeah,
I don't know if it's working for the frame, but I'm wondering if your audience likes Trump kissing a bulldog.
I like that. You know what? Trump likes dogs, and that's a good thing. There was this whole garbage about a dog not coming near him. Then there was this meme: dogs know people, blah blah, all this other stuff. Let me tell you something. Memes are annoying. And again, I talked about this a few times. I want to throw this by. Have you seen those Kamala Harris memes where she's looking all buff and all muscular, like in a Captain America outfit, or in that nice dress with the legs showing in front of the Statue of Liberty? I thought liberals didn't like sexualizing females in politics.
Oh man, you know what? It's been a wonder watching her run because she's able to use her sexuality, she's able to use her race,
Well, I
and
mean,
Donald Trump can't say a
okay,
thing, and
to an
MAGA
extent.
Republicans can't say a thing.
To an extent, using her sexuality. I mean, maybe horny gamers will look at the pictures and say, maybe I'll vote for her. That would be really cool because that wasn't going to work with Hillary.
No, well, Hillary didn't have that kind of charm. She was like the traditional politician, right? She was all about, boxy suits, Ann Taylor, Ralph Lauren, and she was just like conservative as it gets. But she was all about brain power because she's like one of these like liberal smarties. Whereas, Kamala Harris, we still don't know what she is. And that's, I think, her winning formula is that you don't know who she is. And therefore, she could win based on her looks, which is how she's gone kind of far in her life. And I'm saying this as a female and as a minority. I know what she's doing. We don't know who she is, what she really stands for, although we know that she stands for Joe Biden's policies. We know that she stands for open borders, and we know that she wants to do mass amnesty and she wants to do all these things to the Supreme Court, including term limits and packing the court. So, but that gets brushed aside because the one thing that I had to train my brain as she entered the race was that I forget that Democrats vote basely, not on policies. They don't care about the open border.
Right.
They don't even want to hear about it. All they want to know is that, is she good looking? Can I look at her for the next 4 years? Yeah, okay, maybe.
See,
That's different.
How do you think Hillary almost lost to Bernie Sanders?
Ooh.
That exact way. I actually call this the sandbox theory, to be honest with you. I believe you're 100% right. Democrats love optics. That's all they care about.
That's
They
right.
see things, they want a pretty package, and they don't care what happens to anybody else. And they also want to feel good about themselves. They want to say, look at me. I voted for Barack Obama. I made history. I'm
Yeah.
patting myself on the back, and they're all smug with their eyes half closed. But the other thing they do is they also vote on something called the sandbox theory.
What's
They
that?
they vote and legislate against what intimidates them. So if
Hmm.
somebody scares them or would be able to push them down in a sandbox and take their pail and shovel and run away with it, they would be afraid of those people. Donald Trump to them is
Really?
that Donald Trump to them is that boss that comes into an organization looks at the dead wood, tries to get to shape up or ship out, and people don't like it because their cushy jobs are now they actually have to go to work and actually do things at the job. That's the kind of person they don't like. They don't like the guy that was tough on them. They don't like the gym teacher that made them do the extra 25 push-ups. They don't like that, and that's how they see him. As far as Kamala Harris, they see a smiling, laughing, cackling woman who, like, oh, she doesn't scare me at all. Barack Obama, a pretty package. Yeah, when you hear compliments about Barack Obama from his own followers, do you ever hear about his policies? No. You hear, oh, he's so handsome. He has a gentle hand. He's such a good man. Oh, and of course the Cuomo-sexuals who loved Andrew Cuomo when he was governor of New York up until the elites told you not to like him. But he was Mr. He was Mr. COVID for a while, even though he murdered elderly people. But he was the Cuomo-sexuals knew he couldn't do anything wrong, or they thought he couldn't do anything because he was handsome.
Oh,
That's what it is. It's
please.
all a sold package. It's like the pop stars of today. The music stinks. They use auto tune, but it looks nice.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's where we are. We're in like Instagram land right now, where, if you put on the right filters and you put in the right shading and you wear the right upper clothes, I don't know if I don't want to show you what's going on down there, but I'm wearing pajama pants. That's what we are right now. And I'm sorry, I'm from radio, right? So you
Yeah.
can't do that. I could, it's funny. I had, I'm not going to tell you who my co-host was at the time. He would literally wear his boxers and I'm like, dude, put some pants on. At least put some pants on. If not for me, for yourself. You're about to go to a show. But again, that's a guy thing, maybe. I don't know, Chris. You could maybe talk more about that. But I want whoever I'm talking to just wear pants. Is that
I
too
I
hard?
I
Are you wearing
suit up
pants?
I suit up wherever I go. In fact, I should be wearing my jacket here. Out of respect for my audience, the audience, excuse me, the Patriot family, excuse me, because that's what you are. This is our family of patriots. They talk together. We all like to have fun. And look, again, like you all know, if I'm a little slow on the chats because I'm nearsighted, I'm trying to catch up to read everything too.
Oh,
So
I want to see the comments.
I don't want to listen to Angie. So it's all good. We love to respond. We like to go back and forth here, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm suiting up a little bit. I like to put the tie. I love to put a nice tie on, but wherever I go, I suit up. I don't care if nobody else is suited up. I do it. You know why? Because I
Wow,
like it.
old school. I like it. I
Mhm.
like it. Well, the next time I come on your show, I'm going to be fully in like, black. I'm going to do black tie. I'll do the gown, the
Oh,
whole thing. I think we need to do a ritzy show. Just
all
like
right.
class it up.
Maybe I'll get my pal Taco to come on, and and he can do. We can talk about putting on the Ritz. No, no joke. I've
Yes,
done shows with him before. He's a great guy, and it's one of the best songs. I got to tell you.
that
Wait
is a
till
good song.
wait till the liberals find out what it's really about, though. They're gonna go nuts. I don't know if I really want to get into that. It's a different story. But I do want to get into this with you because I've been waiting for you. I wanted to make sure you saw this and everybody. I know you saw the video, but I want to do this with you. Have you seen this whole white women for Kamala thing?
Oh my goodness.
Yes, these are I guess Gen Z millennial influencers and wannabes who got together and decided we're white women and we have to show you all that we are so aware and have to make sure we get out of the way to let biopics or whatever they call them nowadays and speak out, and we have to follow Harris. But this little kid, this instructor, I don't know what the heck, Amber Ash or Ariel or something like that. She calls herself Miss Frizzle or Frazzle, like the cartoon lady, the teacher with the school bus.
Okay.
She calls herself that, and she decides that she's going to tell every other white woman how to act and think when it comes to Kamala Harris. So let's go through this for a bit. Would you like to?
Yeah, let's watch it.
I'd appreciate that. And if any of you all have some comments on this, I'd love to hear and see them. Here is about a minute 49 of this absolute, as kids call it, the cringe fest.
Ariel Fodor, affectionately known as Mrs. Frazzle to her combined audience of over 1.5 million followers, is here to help gentle parent us through this election.
Oh, she's going to gentle parent us through that, Angie.
Oh, you know what happens with gentle parents. You know how the kids turn out. Go ahead.
That's right. Well, the kids turn out to be apparently people who vote for anybody the Dems tell them to. Well, let's go
Yep.
for it. Let's go for it.
Ooh.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I am so honored to speak today. I am like shaking to just be among such incredible company. We are here because, as if you were here earlier, you've heard BIPOC women have tapped us in as white women to step up, listen, and get involved this election season. This is a really important time, and we all need to use our voices and influence for the greater good. No matter who you are all influencers in some way. So tonight, I'm going to share some do's and don'ts for getting involved in politics online and navigating the toxicity that comes with it. And spoiler alert, as much as the toxicity can come from the outside, it can come from us too.
The spoiler alert. How about that spoiler? We know this is all toxic, as they would put it, Angie.
Whoa. Chris, I have a pitch for a new show for us. We
Yes.
should just do reaction videos to like Democrat talking points. And we just
Ooh.
do what we're like right here, right? The real estate on the screen is perfect. I can't look at her without making a face. It is so weird to me. I don't know why. It's like, I just want to like leave the room. I don't know, Chris, I got to ask you, because you're white. Do you wake up thinking, I'm white today? I'm a white male, and let me address the white males? I mean, that's exactly what she's doing. She's saying, hey, we're white. I'm a lady. I'm going to tell you how to behave and how to act in politics, because I'm white, and therefore you should identify with me and do everything that I do. That's kind of what I'm hearing. And it's funny because I also get this from the Republican side, right? I do a lot of minority voter outreach.
Right.
And I always have to say, like, I don't wake up going, I'm an Asian woman. Yeah. And like, and what do I sit there for 5 minutes in my bed and think about this? No, I wake up because my dogs are sitting on my head and they have to go for a pee, or my kids need to be fed. I'm like running around. So it's just so weird that in Democrat land that you have to be boxed up with your identity now. It is just crazy to me, but that's okay.
Yep, it is their thing. It is the way they are these days. And here's a funny thing: what is it with the Democrats and their well, the base at least? What is it with these people who are the ones in charge and the ones who follow? The propensity and the need to be talked down to like they're kindergartners. They said this woman is talking like she's talking to her elementary school class, just like Jill Biden was talking to her crowd, that small crowd in was it North Carolina after the debate. Oh, you did such a good job, Joe. You told the truth. Let's give you a participation trophy. This is the participation trophy generation in charge right now.
Yeah. And if you need that pat on the back, I mean, clearly it seems like all of this stems through some sort of childhood trauma that collectively they're all going through. I'm not even kidding. I mean, like, I'm not a psychologist, and maybe Chris, you could bring one on to discuss this. If someone talked to me like that at work, I'm looking at them with side eye, like, what are you talking about? This is scary, but unfortunately, that might be the only approach, because the other approach they may feel is too threatening, right? They're constantly talking about trigger
Sandbox
words.
theory. See, sandbox theory. They're triggered because they're afraid of things. They legislate what they're afraid against. Here's what I like to say:
Right.
the left likes to make the world a better place for them to live in. And part
Yeah.
of that is making sure they don't wake up and get triggered every day. Part of that's to make sure people who question their realities are silenced, whether it be in real life or on social media, or of course in the regular broadcast media. There's more. Want to hear some more of this, Angie? Because I want your thoughts on this, and I want our Patriot family's thoughts on this too.
All right.
So first, don't isolate yourself. We can do our best work when we're in community together like we are
I
tonight,
gotta start talking my
because
hands
the
like this.
toxic feels smaller when we support each other. But
Angie, you know that, right? And all my friends out here, George, Karen, Tony.
Hi, guys.
It's better when we support each other, right? It's always
Always.
that
I
kills
love
the
hanging out.
toxicity. We support each other here.
Yes, we do.
So let's do some more here, because she is so inspiring now. I'm going to change my mind and vote for Kamala because she's so inspiring.
don't make it about yourself. As white women, we need to use our privilege to make positive changes.
Now you do that too, right? You use your privilege, Angie, to make positive changes. Is that what you do?
Whoa. I had to really just think about that one. That one is scary that she would even say those words, but okay. She acknowledges her white privilege and she says you got to use it to better somebody else. She must feel like she's doing the world a favor. I think that's what she really, believes that. What is her name? Folder? Oh boy. Okay.
Ariel Fodor or something like Miss Frazzle or Frizzle,
Miss.
whatever.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, look. Well, it's clear that she has white privilege because she's telling everyone how to behave, how
right.
to act. This is, you give your power away to get more power. I don't know. I mean, who set this whole thing up? I mean, is this what Harris wanted? Was to have a room filled with white women talking about how they support her? It's weird. The whole thing is weird.
I agree
Oh,
with you.
it's like JD Vance. It's so weird.
Oh yeah, JD Vance is weird. JD Vance is the most normal guy I've ever seen. Here's more. Here's more from Miss Frizzle.
Is if you find yourself talking over or speaking for BIPOC individuals, or God forbid, correcting them, just take a beat. And instead, we can put our listening ears on. So,
Angie, your listening ears are on, right?
What does that even look like? Is that like is
I
that
have
an
mine on.
item
They're
I
right
can
here.
buy?
These are my listening ears. See, I'm
Oh
listening to you.
my.
I always have my listening ears on.
The
Yes.
lexicon is amazing. It's amazing only because when I hear liberals talk, they all use the same lexicon. It's like a
Right.
completely different language to me.
Yeah, it's basically what they're trying to do is again, they're trying to influence younger people how to think and everything, trying to talk in their terms, but they wind up talking down to them. Yet I believe they've raised a couple of generations of people who enjoy being talked down to, and this is why you see this flood for Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, or whoever else isn't Donald Trump, because again, Orange Man scary, Grandpa peaceful, cackling chick is going to do them no harm. There's a little more left. Let's. This is just again, the kids
It's
call it a
gold.
yeah, what do the kids call it? A cringe fest or something or something like that?
do learn from and amplify the voices of those who have been historically marginalized and use the privilege you have in order to push for systemic change. As white people, we have a lot to learn and unlearn. So do check your blind spots. You are responsible for your algorithm, believe it or not.
Okay,
Ariel
there you go.
Fodor
There you go.
affectionately
You are responsible for your algorithm. And so, Angie, you know you're responsible for your algorithm. George, Karen, and Tony, in spirit here, and everybody here we have, you're all responsible for your algorithm. So remember that.
Well, I mean, in part, that is true. I don't want her infecting my algorithm. And I certainly don't want Google pulling down my information or anything I tweet or a picture of Donald Trump saying fight, 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 because, that affects all algorithms as well. Does she even know the words flying out of her mouth? I mean, is she proud of herself that, she was recorded saying all those things? I don't know.
Oh, worse yet, I'm going to get into that in a moment. She probably wrote this, practiced it, and worked on it in front of the mirror for days upon days. This is where she shined the spotlight on this. Remember, she's an influencer. She's an influencer.
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
By the way, I've had, there's a lot of comments here about the video, and Roy717 says cringeworthy. I believe that, but I'm saying cringe yes, worthy no. How about that? Is that a little better? But I like it. You're all right.
Yeah.
I like
Wow.
this. I like this one. Deborah Lynn 59. I'm afraid that I would knock the stupid out of her, but all you'd have left is lips and tennis shoes.
Nice, Debbie. I want to be your friend.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
we love you, Debbie. All right.
Yeah, I again, it's fine. Look, they must make fun of us as well. Like when we do our shows, when we have like all our faces in the boxes like that in our Zoom call, they must laugh at us, right? I mean, I don't know, maybe, and I could tell you from having liberal friends that when we speak, our words, like, it's like, nails on a chalkboard for them. They can't hear it. I mean, are we that divided that even words now, like, like make us throw up in our mouths? That's kind of where we are. Isn't it horrible that we're just like, we're not even talking the same language?
Well,
It
again,
bothers me.
I agree with that, and I think it's all right. It's fun to make fun of them. I do want to go back to, what is it, 2019? Do you remember that video that the Socialist Party of the USA put together? And they had their convention. They decided to actually post a video of it where they're calling each other comrade and they're screaming, and then somebody says, "Hey, you guys, let's talk about winning the election and beating Donald Trump." And all of a sudden, some big fat guy in a red dress, goes to the microphone and says, "I have a problem with you guys calling us guys because it triggers my anxiety." And I think they should post more videos like this. It exposes who they really are, exposes that they're preachy, it exposes that they want to keep telling us what to do, and it exposes that they exposes what they truly think of us as well. That they think we are what Hillary Clinton calls us, deplorables.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like when a criminal, accuses you of doing what he is doing himself. That's what
Right.
this is. No, it's look. I don't know how to wake up this generation. I don't know if you can. There's that old saying that when you're young, you're a Democrat. The older you get, the more conservative you get. I think maybe that is the only answer when these guys have mortgages and car payments and have to put, gas in the car every other day. Maybe that changes their outlook on life. Maybe if they had some kids and not just cute little puppies, that might also change things. I don't know. I mean, at some point, there's got to be a national wake up call. And I'm not saying come to my land and be a conservative just like me, although I'd welcome that. I'm just saying, like, yeah, you can't just be farcical and like spill words like that. The problem also is that a lot of these influencers are making a lot of money,
Right.
and they're getting fed a lot of ad dollars because they're talking like this. So it perpetuates entire industry of nonsense. And
Well,
that's done by Google Ads and all the other facilities that they get paid for putting up dumb videos. I'm sorry, but that's they make a lot of money. My kids are trying to do it with puppy videos and not puppy videos, video game videos. They just like make videos of them playing video games and there's like a million hits. What?
yeah, oh, exactly. And by the way, if you can hear me, that's great. I think my camera froze, so if anybody's asking questions about that, that's what
Oh,
happens. I don't
it
even know if you
did.
see me yeah, my camera froze. You can still hear me, right?
I can still hear you. Luckily, it froze you when you're smiling and you look great with your Elvis
Yeah,
hair. No,
I'm
sorry,
okay
your
with that.
Steve Bannon hair.
I like it. I used to have hair like when I was younger. I put my hair like or try to put my hair like Paul King or even Ivan from Men Without Hats. Those guys had cool hair, but
I don't know who they are. I'm
well,
sorry.
I never tried that Flock of Seagulls haircut though.
All right.
Yeah.
I have to look them up when we're done with this show.
Well, what I'm going to do is when Paul Stone comes on, I'm going to pull out and get pulled back and get that camera rolling. But since we can hear me, I'm good, and we're going to move forward here. But this is exactly the kind of thing we see. All right, and the other thing is what's with the upspeak? I don't know. I mean, uh, we we have a senator, what the heck's her name, the blonde in New York, Kirsten Gillibrand,
Oh yeah.
who she was Congresswoman upspeak for a while. By the way, she was a pro NRA person when she was a Congress member up in Dutchess County because hey,
Hmm.
Dutchess County, you're not going to get voted for unless you like, let's say, rights, if you will. I mean, I said at Poughkeepsie. That's another story. But now that she's a senator and follows Schumer, that she's Schumer's parrot. All of a sudden, there's no NRA's got to go and everything else, this and that. So that's annoying.
Right.
But
Yeah.
that's the way these things are. But she has this horrible upspeak. Two things. I always found that kind of annoying.
It just reminds me of, I'm sorry, this sounds weird. It reminds me of my mother. Like, it
Really?
is like, yeah, like it's like, why are you talking down to me? I'm no longer a
Yeah.
child. I'm in my 40s and I'm still being talked to like a child. Now, maybe there's like some weird fetish of people who like that and enjoy that. And it erases some of the childhood trauma, something. I don't know, but I can't imagine that working in the business world. Like how, I mean, this is the next generation, Chris. This is who's growing up. That's that generation who's talking down at us are the ones who are going to be taking care of us when we're older. This
That's
is
not.
so no, I want some Japanese AI robot to come over to my house.
Somehow I now feel like I feel like I can understand that that teacher, whatever his name is, from the Breakfast Club a little more.
Yes. Oh no, we're not like that, are we? I mean, maybe I have to take my temperature again. We could be like that guy. You're right. We could be that teacher
Or the guy
who
from Falling Down. There's another one.
Michael Douglas?
Yes, his character from Falling Down. We can relate more to. See, that's the thing. We can relate more to those guys now that we kind of are a little older and we see things a little differently. But I guess these young kids, again, they see, and that's another thing. They see celebrity, they see a smiling face, they see a female of color running for president, but they don't see
Mhm.
the policies. They don't see beyond that, and they don't see how it's going to affect them or
No.
their families, their friends, and their relatives. They just want to pat themselves on the back and make history.
Yep, that's it. And that is that. And you know what? Democrats know how to play that so well. And here's the problem. And I saw it in the first week since Harris jumped in the race. Donald Trump doesn't know how to address all this. He's attacking her on the border because she was the border czar. I don't care how badly the media gaslights you. She was the border czar assigned by Joe Biden.
Right.
Um, but Democrats don't care. They don't care about the border. In fact, they're sick of hearing about it. They're not going to vote because of the border crisis. But Donald Trump is using it because he can't attack her in any way. Even if he attacks her with a name like Little Rubio or anything like that, it's going to come across racist and it's going to come across misogynist, right?
Well,
So
yeah,
he's being so careful not to label her with a name yet. And you
right.
know that's classic Donald Trump.
Right, and they should let her talk, and that's they should just let her talk and let her go with everything that just let her hang herself pretty much. That's what I can tell you.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm, but look, she's got 98 days to go. You can hide someone for 98 days, not that it's not gonna be as
hey,
difficult.
they hid
She can
somebody
come
for 3 years, so
well, exactly. So they're gonna do the same with her. Every single word that comes out of her mouth in public will be so scripted. You better believe like the after she met with Bibi Netanyahu
right,
this week or last week, she came out and gave a speech that was perfectly choreographed. You can tell she was reading it from a piece of paper and the prompters, but she could not take any questions or deviate from the script. If they do that for the next 90 days, she's got a real shot. I'm looking at her numbers now, and I know, polling
oh,
is whatever, but and I could say this on your show, Chris.
right,
All they have to do is make it appear as if she looks like a winner. If she can come across like she can win the race, then the machine does the rest for her, right? Joe Biden couldn't even convince anybody, not even my dogs, that he's viable to be president. So if you can't even fake winning, you're not going to win. Where
right.
she can fake the win. That's where I'm worried.
Oh, that's the thing. She can get through these days on celebrity for a little while, but keep in mind, as you know, polls. Here's how it works. They call people who aren't working or have the time to answer them, answer the polls. A lot of us who are on the Trumpish side, we're working. We're too busy. We can't answer these things. We can't stick on the phone with people for a long period of time and answer these stupid questions. By the way, we're going to have Paul Stone on pretty soon, and with Biden inflation and the government printing so much money, the dollar is hardly worth anything, as you know. It may be time to get some of your financial future secured with gold and silver. That's why Wake Up Patriots partners with our sponsor, Colonial Metals Group. They help you set up a safe and secure self directed IRA where you have access to your assets, no matter what in the stock market or the government is doing. That's all good things here. Let the team, all good things. I'm saying it's all good things that you have access to your assets, not what the stock market and government's always doing. But again, that's another story for another day. But let the team of experts at Colonial Media Group. Yeah, now I'm doing this again. This is where my eyes go. Let the team of experts at Colonia Metals Group help you protect your family's future. They did put together a special offer for the audience here. For us, our Patriot family, click on the link at the description below. And I'm going to put that up right now. We're going to have that when Paul Stone is on in a few moments. But click on this description below or call the special 800 number. And that's right here as well, 800-805-4034. That's 800-805-4034. And you'll receive a free safe and up to 10,000 smackaroonies in free silver for the, but check it out. The number, of course, is 800-805-4034, or you could click on the link that's in the scroll below here. That's colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry. I know people say dash, but it's really a hyphen. With that, let's bring in Paul Stone. Paul, good morning. And this is something huge here. Angie's with me today. Tony is out for the day. He's back tomorrow. But as we have talked about several times, and as you all know, the dollar is not worth as much as it was. We could talk about how bad it's been over the last 4 years, but you really put into perspective how bad the dollar's lost value over the last century, especially in your recent Substack.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's two great points to make to try and help Americans and especially retirees who are sipping off that savings, that life savings, right? So they don't have to be at work today. like we all are, right? We're creating and adding to that reserve, that resource of pooled money that we'll want to be able to draw on when we don't want to work anymore, don't have to, or can't. And so, if you think of money and the dollar as a resource, it becomes a lot more clear quickly when you start to wonder, well, how strong is the resource? You could have $1 billion, right? But it's monopoly money. So no one accepts that anywhere. So that's useless paper. So just because you count a big number, perhaps folks think they have a great number of dollars saved. What actually is the value within the dollar that you would count on using down the road? And is that value staying steady? Is it increasing? Is it improving? Is the government improving things for the dollar? Or is it continuing to erode? And so paper really doesn't have a value unless you want to write something on it, right? So when you think of money on paper, same thing, unless it's representative of something totally real behind it, like metal, like gold and silver, the metal itself, which, by the way, comes from the earth, like everything else that you would use in your life.
Yeah,
So if the paper represents the gold, then the gold's value can't be diminished because you can't print it. You can't create it artificially.
right. And the funny thing is, we all know that 1971 was a turning point where the Federal Reserve Standard was instilled in favor, and the gold standard was officially eschewed. But this was in the works for 40 years, back from the Roosevelt era forward. This was something that they were trying to do for a very, very long time, and it started with obviously the confiscation of gold. Then there was the idea that, hey, maybe we should find another way to spend some money here and there. And the Roosevelt administration tried its best to spend as much money as possible and find that money. But again, so the Federal Reserve was put into action, if you will, and I'm sure the deep state back then, if you will, uh, was getting prepared to make this kind of thing happen in the next 30, 40, 50 years, which became a success in their eyes back in 71. But this is the fruits. I shouldn't say the fruits, the rotten crab apples of this decision and this entire move caused on the basic end caused our fiat currency. But you're seeing now a point where salaries have not caught up. They weren't catching up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, and now it's getting a lot worse because we talked about Biden inflation. Where the numbers look great in the market in a lot of ways, but when a young guy is going to try to buy a house, something that costs maybe a couple hundred thousand, even a decade or two back, is double that.
So right, great point. And just to finish on what I was talking about earlier is the dollar was once worth 100 cents.
Right.
If you thought, what can the dollar turn into if I took one out of my wallet and threw it on the ground? It would turn into 100 pennies, right? Today you would get 3 pennies from that same dollar. So as you're destroying the inherent buying power of the currency itself, you are pushing commodity prices higher. And another way to kind of understand that, when people say food prices are up 30% or so, did you get a 30% raise in your paycheck?
Right.
No. So yeah, inflation is drowning out most people. My way of helping people try to visualize it is consider a wind. An inflationary financial wind started blowing out of Washington and Wall Street in 1971 when Nixon did what he did. When he said gold has nothing to do with the paper version of money anymore. And the paper version of money technically wasn't money. It was just a representation of gold. Now it is money. And what did I say earlier? Paper is really great if you want to write something on it. But otherwise, it really has no value. You can't build a home out of paper, right? So when you think about a structure, it can't be paper. It's got to
I
be
have a
something
question.
real. Yes, that'd be great.
Paul, I mean, you mentioned that, and right now, I believe the Chinese are the biggest purveyor of buying gold around the world. They're trying to get their hands on gold everywhere,
Oh yeah.
and we're hearing the devaluation of the U.S. dollars. And that's been a trend for quite some time. It's, I haven't been following the story. I'm not a business reporter, but we've been seeing the dollar kind of fall flat for some time now. And then we hear of this new basket of currency called BRICS, right? How realistic is this? I mean, I think it's kind of real because I see what Russia's doing. I see what China's doing, and Modi in India. They're all kind of getting together, Brazil as well. I think it was Brazil, and there's like a basket of other countries, South America and in Africa. I mean, how realistic is it that we're going to see a flip of the top currency in our lifetime, and maybe even sooner? Maybe are we talking 5, 10 years that we're going to start buying things using a different currency? Because that's kind of what's happening right now around the world.
Great question. I love this because it helps articulate one, how we feel, how we're perceiving something in the moment, and then also the ability to look back out and say, oh, well, we're human beings just like the Romans were, and just like the Spaniards and the Portuguese and the reserve currency countries that came before us. So imagine we're all British right now. And we have that great accent. We're extremely funny with a dry sense of humor. And we're drinking in our pubs and we're just laughing at this upstart country that we kind of negotiated a peace and let them have some land across the Atlantic a long time ago. This upstart country called America is going to take over reserve currency status over England, the British Empire that had 26 countries under its belt at the time, something like that. So just think about our perception. Is it real? This sounds kooky, all these goofy countries getting together to challenge the US dollar and the might of America's financial empire. That How could that be? The dollar's worth 3 cents, right? It's losing a penny and a half a year. And so if you thought of that as sand in an hourglass, there's almost no sand left. There's no time left. There's no resource left for us to muster the dominance that we've been able to portray on the world for 40, 50, 60, 70 years. So yeah, it's normal. It's routine. The history books don't show us being erratic in the different scenarios of outcomes that we create as human beings. It shows a consistency. It shows that you get reserve currency status and then you lose it.
Oh, here's another thing, and it's no secret now that central banks are also scooping up gold at a record pace, and it's getting between them and the BRICS nations and their future potential BRICS currency. This is a big sign for gold and a big opportunity for those who even want to invest in silver.
Let me throw a curveball at that. The general assumption, okay, central banks are buying up all this gold, so they must be planning for a catastrophe. So it's estimated that the U.S. is sitting on 8,500 metric tons of gold. If you throw that against that ounce, how many ounces are in a ton, right? And you throw that against gold's current value, call it $2,400 an ounce.
Okay.
It's a few bunch of billions of dollars. And the government budget is $7 trillion a year, approximately.
Yes.
So that's nothing. So why would maybe central banks are buying all this gold to keep you guys from having it when the whole world en masse wants to reach for owning some? Now, China could be a different story to me. China's playing a long game. When we said gold has nothing to do with our money anymore in 1971, they started buying. This is a country that will spend hundreds of years building a wall. This is a country that the people in charge can stay in charge for a very, very, very long time. We keep flipping as soon as someone's elected in this country, they start spending time on re-election campaigns. So, and who knows how much gold China is unearthing out of its own soil? They're not reporting that. They could be sitting on 20,000 metric tons or 50. Who knows?
Yeah, they'll never report anything. China is, and the BRICS nations. I'm going to throw this also at you with the BRICS nations. I know it's a different thing as well, but it does kind of go with what you're saying. China's scooping things up, scooping gold up. I understand your point about the central banks, but the BRICS nations may soon control not only over 40% of the oil. I think they do control 40% plus of the oil reserves. They may soon control 72%. From what I'm reading from experts here, 72% of the world's rare earth supply.
Yes.
Yeah, that's another issue we can go into in the future. But this could be pretty dangerous.
If we're looking backwards at the breadcrumbs that we've laid, it helps us understand where we're headed. If we're just sitting in the middle of a lake and we don't have a compass, we can't see the sun, it's like hard to tell which way's north. Like what direction should we choose next? So if we're looking backwards, we can easily see where we're headed toward in the future. And we're headed towards the same thing Rome and all the other reserve currency countries before us headed into, which is peril, which is why I try to say as a sub message to everything I'm trying to make light of, is that the individual human being, especially here in America, needs to stop thinking about the government solving any of its problems and start realizing what problems we can try to avoid for ourselves, and money being a resource that moves us around during the day. We need to make sure that the money we have in our name stays ours. And the form of that money probably has a better shot of staying ours if it isn't issued by the government. I'm not saying you lock up everything you've got and then you try to go to Walmart with some silver coins. I'm talking about retirement savings. I'm talking rationally. I'm talking about if you thought of your savings as hay in the barn and a fire is racing across the prairie land and it has never shown a change of its direction, so you're likely in its path. You can't move the barn, you can move the hay. You can move the hay out of the barn to a safer location. You can move your savings from the dollar to only physical gold and silver that you own, that you're in possession of, or is in a depository near you.
Tangible assets.
Yes. But
Yes.
back to both of your point, and Angie, I love the question. The BRICS nations have credibility because that's what humans do. There's always going to be a group of folks that are looking for total dominance or the number one position, right? The world is competitive, even if the Democrats say it shouldn't be. It's a competitive place.
I like that.
Resources are limited.
I'm worried, you guys. I mean, are we witnessing the plateau, if not the downfall of the American empire? Is that where we are?
Dollars worth 3 cents. Yeah, you're creating $1 trillion. So try to think of the magnitude of how. So imagine you're sitting in a diner. We're all sitting in a diner.
Right.
It's 8 o'clock in the morning. We're eating breakfast, and someone just kicks the door open and screams, "They printed the money! They've paid all their bills with fake money." You would be like,
That's what we're
what?
doing.
The government pays all of its bills with fake money. You would then think, wow, we are bankrupt as hell. What? But it's been this slow dripping out, this bleeding out, where we've barely noticed exactly the situation we're in. $34 trillion in debt at $1 a second is over 1 million years of money.
Yeah.
Think about 1 billion seconds. That's 31 years.
Oh yeah, it's over
Most people are
35
going to live
trillion
2
now.
billion seconds old.
Right. Yeah, the U.S.
A
debt.
trillion seconds is 31,000 years. We were just figuring out fire back then.
I just figured
No,
out
we're
fire
in
the other
trouble.
day. What do you
One
mean?
way
I
to
just figured that stuff out
articulate
the other
our
day.
situation.
Yep. Wow, we're definitely heading down a downward spiral with all that, and I'm worried because, you know, everything can flip in a second. You know, do you think all this started maybe when Joe Biden lifted the oil sanction on Iran? Maybe that's where a lot of this money is flooding through, because now we can buy, not we, but everyone else can buy oil from Iran, and they're making a lot of money. And it's causing a lot of problems. And they're also not using US currency to buy it. So was that a failed plan there? Because they were hoping, well, if we lifted the sanctions, not only will our adversaries not be angry with us, but they'll use the US dollar to buy oil. Didn't happen that way.
Right. No, oh, please, we can start our own episode.
Yeah, I know.
A little more passionate and
let's
angry
go
than I am
overtime on
now
that one.
about government ineptitude. Einstein said the mind that creates the problem cannot possess the solution. So its lack of vision is what that story is about. The Democrats obviously have a lack of vision, and most politicians seem to. Not to say anyone's a bad person necessarily, should be taken out back and done away with. But when you think about how we were heading, it seemed like maybe the Fed, there was an erosion. It's always been happening, but it was hard to detect during the a few presidencies leading up to Biden's. Biden's team caused a massive disturbance with this massive, $1.5 trillion, $2 trillion infusion of new money just as he took the helm at the White House back in 2021, and that unsettled everything. That disturbed this general consistent eroding process that was always ongoing. but inflation was not all that detectable. It's always been happening to the tune of around 8% a year from my best estimations.
Well,
And the
I'm gonna say something I'm not supposed to say in real public. Well, I'm gonna say it here because this is the proper forum for that. You're right about the trickle. You're right about it barely being noticed over the years, the national debt. Also, because the news is always the deficit. We all know the debt matters, not the deficit. The debt was skyrocketed after the passage of the Obamacare, American Affordable Health Care Act, if you will. Look, I understand people need health care, but this bill was shoved through because the Democrats were going to lose power in Congress. It was done without foresight. The debt more than doubled during Obama's tenure. Then it got worse and worse, and we had the wars, we had COVID, and we still had to pay for the health care, the American Health, the Affordable Health Care Act, and all that forced all that's. I mean, it's no longer a trickle. This is dangerous area, and the government still refuses to curb spending, and that's an issue.
It sure is. You know, the government's way of cutting spending is to say, well, we budgeted to spend a 10% increase over last year this year, but we only decided to spend 8, so we cut spending by 20%.
But this is why we have you here, Paul, and Paul Stone's with us from Colonial Metals Group. We do want to make sure we know that if you want to call the phone number 800-805-4034. That's eight. I'll use my radio voice. That's 800-805-4034. You like that? Does that sound a lot better?
And
You
it
can
was
have
very good. You should do that more often.
I think I shall. How about this? And go to the website, colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed Henry. Actually, it's Ed-Henry. Technically, it's Ed-Henry, but I think we all know it's colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry. That's very important. And the number one more time, 800-805-4034. Tangible assets are important. A diversified portfolio is important, but I do want to just stress this. There are other reasons to have tangible assets, not just because the way the markets are going on. Paul and I do have a few minutes for that, and I do want, with Angie and you, to talk about the Venezuelan elections for at least a couple of minutes here and the protests that are going on, but just a little bit more on tangible assets and why they're important.
Yeah,
What would,
look, go
let's
ahead,
give it
Paul.
to Angie. No, let's give it to Angie here. Yeah.
Look, we've been watching the world on fire. I mean, elections have consequences, and that's what we're seeing here.
That's what
And,
Obama says. Elections have consequences.
and I'm going to borrow those words from him, even though I'm sure he's not the first person to say it. But we see now what happens. The country is completely collapsing again. They are just barely crawling out of their financial collapse, right? And I'm sure Paul can talk more about that. It wasn't that long ago that we were hearing stories of families in Venezuela eating their dogs because they didn't have food, because
Yep.
there was no supplies, because their currency is completely collapsed.
A
And
once prosperous country, might I add.
right, and we saw that within our lifetime. So, I mean, I live in Miami, and there's a lot of Venezuelans who live there. They fled Venezuela to come to Florida. So they carry all those stories, and they're scared because they saw it from their lifetime. They went from super wealthy. I'm talking about very, very, very wealthy families who now have to work coffee shops because they have had to leave everything. Everything was stolen from them. And they're so scared that the same thing is going to happen in the United States. And I always heard these stories. We're having cafecito together. They're telling these scary stories. And I always kind of went, these are probably stories that were passed down through their grandparents. No, this is something that happened to them. And they're really worried that it can happen in the US. I don't know if I'm just fear mongering people, but I'm starting to see it now. I'm seeing it with the currency devaluation. I'm seeing it with the price of eggs being $1 a piece these days. I'm seeing every one of those fractures. And when they all come together, when we all figure out what has been going on, it may be, I'm not going to eat my dogs, but it may be that bad, right? Am I just completely farcical here? Or is this something that if we don't catch it now, we could really, really fall? Not to Venezuela level, but I don't see us being all that far off.
Yeah.
Mm. Yep.
I'm with both of you too. I'm with definitely both of you definitely on this. And but like what you're seeing here, Venezuela was a once prosperous country, as we talked about. They voted in the communists. or sort of voted in the communists, and all of a sudden they do what they do and they screw everything up. I think these little kids we saw earlier, and Paul, before you came in, we were playing this video about these this group called Women, or was it White Women for Kamala Harris or something like that. She were there talking on about their feelings and whatever PC garbage they were pulling. If you showed them what happens when you elect people that far to the left into, or you bring people like that into office or into positions of power, and how they destroy nations, how they destroy economies, perhaps we could convince more people to to vote. Let's just say to be a little more responsible with their votes rather than vote for what they see or who the prettier candidate is, if you will.
Well, first of all, if I could jump in, I would say this situation is well beyond a vote. Philosophically speaking, I think it was Voltaire, I'm probably getting that wrong, but I believe it was a French political philosopher who said, "You will elect the country you deserve. You will elect the government you deserve."
I
So
think
it does have something to do with the mindset of the voters that eventually joins hands in the erosion. Though we just don't know exactly what's happening. Here's the third piece that you want to add into this little soup I'm creating is something called normalcy bias.
yes.
It's the Achilles heel to the human being to be able to identify something changing for the ugly side. Essentially, about 70% of people hearing about doom and gloom will reject it, be suspicious of why you're describing such a scenario, and utterly just disbelieve it's possible. 70% so out of 100 folks, 70 people, you're telling them the dam's going to burst. We've done some seismic tests. You probably should start considering moving, relocating, selling. Well, you still get something for your home. 70% of the people will not believe that the dam could possibly break. And so they'll be living there when it does.
Exactly, and it's basically, to put it in more common terms, you think that everybody thinks the way you do, and that
Yes.
is a habit we all fall under here. No, things are different other places. People you talk to every day in the street don't think the way you do, but it's normal to us. That's our normalcy bias, and it's true. I believe a lot of us, all of us, the best of us, fall into that trap.
Mhm. Yeah. And so when you look at, Angie, what happened in Venezuela, it just happened swiftly. But the exact same thing is happening here. The confiscation of your peace, your wealth, your rights, your ability to enjoy happiness, to be in pursuit of happiness, is all interfered with by the printing of money. There are more problems today than there were in 1971. And people could say, well, there were problems there too. Yeah, easy way to kill an argument. Just bring up some absolute scenario where I can't win mine, right? You can say it never rains in the desert. It rained last week. Yeah, it rains occasionally in the desert, right? I'm not going to start a garden there, right? You know what I'm saying? So when we look back through time, we can see that the government printing press has caused an interference where the government now, we talk about it all the time. We didn't used to, right? They're supposed to be able to solve our problems, but they don't seem to have they definitely don't have the track record or seem to have the capability to actually solve problems. They just create more of them. And so if you extrapolate an insanely well-funded government out over a 50-year period of time, here's what you get. Again, maybe this would help too. If you think of the dollar, the currency, as the steel, the girders, right, behind the drywall, behind all the pretty stuff, the artwork and the painted walls, the steel within the building, the financial structures of our economy. And that steel is 97, because the dollar has lost 97% of its value, its strength. How can you consider that's something you want to continue to trust in perpetuity when it loses 1.5% of its strength from its original design every year? Eventually, the steel isn't strong enough to hold the structure up any longer, and it all craters in. And Venezuela was an engineered cratering. Yes, Valero gas. If you ever seen a Valero gas station, that's
Yep.
Venezuela.
I've been
They
there.
don't
Yep.
have the sweetest crude that's out there, but they produce massive amounts of crude oil that's mostly used for heating oil and diesel. So when you think about how prosperous that tiny little country was, I think
Right.
it was at one point the fourth largest oil petroleum generating country on
It was
the
up
earth,
there, yeah.
and it has massive reserves. So you had a government that just came in and just canceled out the ability to efficiently and effectively extract oil from their soil and put it out on the international market.
Sound
And
familiar?
everyone's gone broke.
Yeah, sound familiar? That's exactly what Biden did when he came in. Not
Yes.
to that same degree, but
Killing
he
the
did that.
Canadian pipeline,
Yep.
killing resource extraction out of our own country for the idea of global warming. We're headed towards a cliff and we're going to extinct ourselves.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we have to. So when you want to jump forward and go, could this really happen here? It could be much worse here. Much worse. One, most people don't live near farms.
And I
Think
do have
about
to
the voting centers that swag our country into the blue. They're all in the cities.
Right. No, it's true. And I do have to unfortunately close this out because we're going into slight overtime here. But Paul, we're going to be happy to have and continue this conversation with Tony next week. When you're here, Paul is going to be here on Tuesdays with us now, and that's going to be a lot of fun. Angie, as always, we'd love to have you. By the way, that's the chairwoman of the Capitol Hill Fight Club. I love it. First
Yeah,
things
love
first,
the
though, I
name.
want to make sure people know Colonial Meadows Groups there to protect your family's future. So give them a call, 800-805-4034. That's 800-805-4034. Or check out or visit them on the web. That's colonialmetalsgroup.com/Ed-Henry. I like that Fight Club thing, Angie.
Yeah, that's a good name.
We can all be part of the Fight Club.
I thought you weren't supposed to talk about it.
Yeah, there's 2 rules, right?
We're making soap. You're you're selling metals and I'm making soap.
Paul Stone, Angie Wong, thank you very much for being with me here. I enjoyed having this show with you guys. Tony Schaefer is back with me tomorrow. We got Dr. Jerome Corsi, Jenny Kiefover. We're going to have a lot of fun tomorrow. And let's keep it going. Patriots, thank you very much for being with us as well. And I'll make sure my camera doesn't freeze tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Great to be back.
Thank you.